I'm Lynnie with Sunflower Spirit Tarot, and I'm here with a message for Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and any other significant placements. Now, this is just going to be a general message, so whatever I see is what I'm going to read, but it's typically going to be about your relationship to someone or something specific, okay? All right, spirit guides, benevolent ancestors, guardian angels, those that come to us in and through unconditional love only. What messages do you have for Cancer at this time? Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and any other significant placements. What do they need to know, see, and be aware of from the time they view this video moving forward? What are the most important messages for Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and any other significant placements? I hope you guys have been doing well. I've been doing really well. Just enjoying my summer so far. Yes. All right. And let's do one more. Let's do one more. Just for good measure. All right. All right, what do we got for Cancer spirit? Comfort, confirmation, clarity, whatever they need, let's give it to them, okay? At the bottom of the deck, we got the Queen of Pentacles. That's really good energy. The Queen of Pentacles, for me, is like the wifey card, okay? She's somebody who understands the importance of partnership in her life. And even though she can stand alone, even though she can be independent, she typically looks for a partner, someone who can, match her vibe, somebody who can help her grow, and somebody who can contribute to, a family, a legacy, right? It's more than just about, romance. It's about building a life with someone, right? Overall energy is the Five of Cups, okay? We're talking about eliminating anything that you don't need anymore. It doesn't necessarily mean eliminating a relationship, but it could. But mostly it's talking about eliminating outdated programming or outdated beliefs that have been holding you back from creating the life that you really want. Okay, so you do want to be someone's wifey one day, whether you're in a feminine or a masculine body. I'm talking to a feminine right now, so it doesn't matter about the bodies, it just matters about the energy. So you might hear me refer to the feminine as her or she, and I'm just referring to the feminine, not you in a feminine body. Okay. All right, clarifying the Five of Cups is the Emperor, the Princess of Chalices, and the Devil. Okay, I automatically understand what's going on right now. Princess of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. You've met a masculine. You've met a masculine that you like, that's emotionally available, that you find really attractive. Here's the issue. The issue is they're not masculine enough for you, okay? What I mean by that is not necessarily divine masculine energy. What I mean is they don't necessarily characterize themselves as an alpha or as, the leader of the pack or as, one of those macho men, okay? So when you've been indoctrinated by movies, TV, music, all that kind of stuff to believe that a masculine man can only show up in one way, right? He has to be big and tall with muscles, and he has to be controlling, and he has to tell you people what to do, and he has to be able to beat people up. Whenever we get these ideas in our mind about what masculines are supposed to look like, how they're supposed to feel, how they're supposed to approach us, how they're supposed to dress, what they're supposed to think, how they're supposed to behave, we are limiting ourselves. We're cutting ourselves off from this incredible variety of masculine dominant men who don't necessarily present as this kind of hyper masculine macho jock guy. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I think. I think basically you have dated a lot of men or masculines who approach you or who look like what you think a masculine should look like, but they don't treat you how you want to be treated. You don't feel supported. You don't feel seen. You don't feel loved. You don't feel appreciated in these relationships with these men. And it's not necessarily about their looks specifically, but I feel like you might have a type. I feel like the masculine that you're coming into connection with is somebody that you wouldn't have normally given a chance to. They're not your type. I think you find them very attractive. I think they're very handsome and charming, and they have their own kind of style and vibe, but I don't think that they're typically the masculine that you look for. If you guys watched Love is Blind, I'm thinking about Ramses right now, okay? He was so emotionally available and emotionally intelligent, and a lot of people are upset because they feel like he led the woman that he was supposed to be with on, but I don't feel that way personally. I don't feel that way at all. I think that he gave her a chance or gave the connection a chance to grow, and he decided that ultimately it wasn't for him. He was very honest, very open. I'm thinking immediately of Ramses from Love is Blind. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, look him up. I don't know, watch the season. I don't know if you really want to know, if you really want to feel that's the kind of masculine energy that I think you're coming in contact with. He's not going to be the strongest, loudest, most controlling or domineering in the room, but he is going to have a presence, and he is going to have his own sort of vibe, his own sort of aura about him. I think what's kept you from dating men like this in the past who probably are more aligned with you emotionally, right? What's kept you from dating men like this in the past is just having a closed mind, okay? Just not believing that these men were either marriage material, because maybe you've dealt with men like this who you might think are a little feminine, even though they're still masculine dominant. It's just because they're not masculine in the way that other people are masculine that you feel represents masculinity. All right. So these, and what I feel is like maybe you've dealt with these men and maybe you've like not seen them as marriage material, or you don't see them as the hubby type. You don't see them as the lifelong partner type because you doubt their ability to protect you or to watch over you or to keep you safe in some way. If safety is a really big deal for you, I would imagine that emotional safety is probably an even bigger deal. And I'm not sitting here saying that you should marry a man or a masculine who's not willing to like kill a spider for you. If you are like deathly afraid of spiders, they can be also in the corner, hiding and jumping and acting crazy because you're not into that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you can appreciate when a man embraces his feminine side, but you don't want it to be like leading or in control. And these men don't actually let their feminine side lead. They just aren't afraid to express the artistry or the artistic sides of them or the creative sides of them or the sides of them that enjoy beauty, right? And so it's not that they're not masculine. It's not that they're not going to protect you. It's not that they can't fight. It's not that they can't stand up for themselves. It's just that that's not how they lead with their masculinity. Their masculinity is more quiet, it's more calm, okay? And it doesn't need to be arrogant or loud or obnoxious. And you might, like I said, attribute those qualities to somebody who is more alpha and more masculine, thus more aligned with what you think, you want, okay? As I see you coming up in this reading as the Queen of Swords, okay? So this is somebody who is not necessarily thinking about something from an emotional point of view, okay? They're very intellectual, very logical, very clear-minded, and very clear on what it is that they want. And I feel like this is also somebody whose heart is not involved in whatever the situation is. I think it's disappointing to you that you aren't able to find the kind of man that you want in the body that you want with the personality that you want. I think it's a little bit unrealistic for you to think that you're going to find the man that you want by continuing to date, your quote unquote type or the type that you think you're supposed to be attracted to because you're attracted to masculine people, right? Or masculine bodies and things like that. What I would challenge you to do is explore other ways in which masculinity exists, because it's not just being in charge and it's not just being strong. Masculinity, it has just as much variety as femininity does, okay? So I would challenge you to challenge your own ideas of what masculinity actually is. So maybe you could open yourself up to a few more people. I just feel you being very disappointed. You're calling in these men who either don't act and look like you want them to, or they don't give you the emotional support and the emotional availability that you're looking for. Now, am I saying that every man who comes up as this King of Chalices is emotionally mature and ready and all this sort of thing? No, but what I'm saying is this man is ready and emotionally mature. This man is actually looking towards the future. This man is actually wanting to create a family, a legacy, a life with someone. You might continually meet people who are like all about the money, all about their career, and aren't ready to settle down. Or at the very least, you're not the one that they want to settle down with, right? We have to be honest with ourselves about that too, don't we? So when you continually have the same experiences over and over and over, going after the same kind of guy, maybe the issue is not, you guys not being compatible. Maybe that's not just the simple issue. Maybe it's just you're not compatible with your quote unquote type or what you perceive to be masculinity. Okay. I honestly think that you meet a lot of people who are very controlling, very domineering, jealous, insecure. They have a lot of wounded masculine energy. Okay. This King of Chalices right here, I would say, is ready for something real, ready for something. And I think they prioritize emotional connection over everything else. So I wouldn't say that you need to date somebody who is below your standard or can't provide for you materially as a feminine. Okay, I would never recommend that to anybody. Okay, but what I will say is this person prioritizes the emotional aspect, the romantic aspect, the connection aspect of a relationship. Okay, whereas you may have wanted to commit yourself to somebody who was prioritizing the money, their career, their job, material things and stuff like that. This is not to say that you should be dating a broke masculine, okay? Never, ever, ever will I advertise that. Never, ever, ever will I give anybody that advice. I think that you might have attributed those characteristics of being emotionally available and prioritizing the emotional side of relationships as somebody who doesn't really have any goals, as somebody who doesn't really have a life, as somebody who doesn't really want anything. And maybe their purpose is not just one thing, one career, one job, one path. Maybe their purpose is doing whatever they can to contribute to the family that they're trying to build. Do you understand? And I feel like that's what you have in common with this person. It's not necessarily about the job itself, the career itself, the money itself. It's about being able to contribute to the family, the end goal, right? The rainbow. This is what I'm talking about. Stay with me here. Okay, let's talk about the Queen of Swords. And you may have already met this person and have already written them off and decided that they weren't masculine enough for you. We have the Star here. You're still wishing and hoping that you can meet somebody who's going to touch your heart, that's going to inspire you, that's going to connect with you in a meaningful way. The King of Cups can. The King of Cups can. I promise, just give it a chance. King of Chalices. Let's clarify this energy of the King of Chalices. King of Chalices. That's also Aquarius energy, the Star, so you might have some of that in your chart. King of Chalices. We have the Five of Wands and we have the Ace of Wands. Once again, is he strong enough? Is he masculine enough? Do I find him attractive enough? Do I want to rip his clothes off? That sort of thing. That's the kind of thing that you're asking yourself. It's like, yeah, I find him attractive. When you meet him, if you haven't already, it's like, yeah, I find him attractive, but do I want to rip his clothes off? Do I really want to, and maybe you don't have that instant, immediate spark, okay? And maybe you will, but maybe you don't, and maybe you won't, okay? I would suggest giving it some time to develop, okay? Just because you want to sleep with somebody immediately does not mean that they're your husband. It does not mean that they're your partner. It does not mean that they're your future spouse. A lot of times we think that our bodies have this wisdom that we aren't connected to. But if you have gone out on enough dates with enough men that you have found sexually attractive, that you have had physical relationships with that haven't gone anywhere, okay? Maybe it's time to take a little bit of a different approach, okay? Maybe give these things time to grow. I feel like that's really where the doubt is in your mind. That's what you're really questioning. That's where the conflict comes in. It's like, are we going to be able to have that kind of passionate, intense, I want to rip your clothes up type of relationship? And what I will say is, honestly, for what you say your goals are, that's really not the most important part. I think that comes with time. That comes with building that emotional connection. That comes with creating and cultivating that passion naturally and organically, right? One step at a time. I think you want too much too soon. You're looking for a lot of confirmation and validation in the way that you feel about them physically. And that's not necessarily what's going to get you to where you want to be. I need you to step outside of your comfort zone just a little bit. Okay, I know this is not what you want to hear. You want to hear that some 6'5" hunk of a man who knows how to fight and has millions of dollars is going to come scoop you off your feet and also be Mr. Romantic and Mr. Quality Time. And that just doesn't work. That doesn't even align. When you think about, if you listen to the rhetoric that masculines will give themselves and each other about how to build a successful life, women are nowhere on that list, okay? They don't include women at all. What do they say? Go to the gym, wake up early, take care of yourself, take your vitamins and blah, blah, blah. They're not talking about women at all, because basically a man in that headspace is not looking for a woman unless she is willing to be a total supporter, cheerleader, giving total deference and total submission. That's not you. So let's be real about that, okay? That's not who you are. And you're not even really looking for a man like that. You don't want a man who's going to try to control you. You don't want a man who's going to try to tell you how to dress, where you can go, what you can do, how you're supposed to look, keep up this certain image. You want a man who accepts you for you, loves you for you, and also wants to create the family that you want to create. Except you're not looking for family-oriented people, okay? That's the problem. This emotionally available King of Chalices here. And now this is masculine water sign energy. So they could literally be a water sign, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces. Or they could have that in their chart. It doesn't have to be that. But it's just like the way they approach relationships. It's about the end goal, the family, having that life together with someone, building a life together with someone. It's not about what purpose do they serve in my life right now, okay? And how can they help me reach the top? And how can I be successful in my career with this? It's not even about all that. And I think that the thing that attracts you to those other kind of men is that security, that safety. Okay, feeling as if you'd be taken care of if one day you lost your job or lost your career, and maybe you don't have a career. Maybe that's why you're so dead set on looking for someone who's more financially successful in a way. And maybe you do have a career and you just want somebody that when you go out to a function and they say, so what does your partner do? And you go, oh, I can tell them this wonderful thing that they do. I think you're trying too hard to keep up with appearances. And I think that the person who's going to actually make you happy could be somebody, like I said, that you've already met or you will be meeting very soon, who doesn't necessarily trigger that instant response in you, like, oh, I want to sleep with them. Right? It's not going to be an instant trigger response. Well, like I said, they're not ugly. Okay? They got their own little thing going on. And to be honest, I think that you could grow to love that. Honestly, realistically. Eight of Swords. Let's talk about the Eight of Swords. Even after you realize that maybe you should give this person a chance, you're still going to be skeptical, and that's okay, because I'm not saying you should trust this person right away and totally let your guard down and just let them have their way in your life. What I'm saying is that just give them a chance, give them an opportunity, as much of an opportunity as you would give anyone else. Eight of Swords, the King of Pentacles. What do we see at the split? At the bottom was the Queen of Pentacles. This is the King of Pentacles. This is almost what I feel is like the ideal of what you're looking for. Okay, this represents, and look, Four of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck with the Justice card. If you keep looking for this specific kind of person, and the King of Pentacles does exist, I just don't think you're compatible with what the King of Pentacles actually represents. I don't necessarily think you're compatible with what you think your type is, which is weird because I think a lot of us are that way. And we don't even realize it, okay? And so when you're thinking about the life that you want with someone, you're looking for somebody who matches you exactly. And sometimes we need somebody who will, what is the word? Who, not compatible, but somebody who complements us. There it is. Somebody who complements us. You're looking for completion, but you should be looking for complementing. Okay, look someone who has complementary characteristics, complementary energies, complementary vibes. Okay, not necessarily somebody who's going to match everything that you have. Right? It's almost like you might have this list, as most successful independent feminines do. They write down a list of all the things that they want in a partner because people have told you to do this for years and years and years. And your list gets more specific and more specific. You go on a bad day with the guy who has ugly socks. All of a sudden on your list, it's a guy who doesn't wear ugly socks. You know, this stuff is so ridiculous. It's superficial and it's keeping you from getting what you actually want and getting your needs actually met. If you drive a Beamer and you want somebody else who drives a Beamer, and, you know, this King of Cups drives a dang Subaru, that's okay. It's okay. Sometimes you got to loosen the reins, because then you have to ask yourself, are you actually emotionally available and ready for a relationship if you have all of these standards and all of these things that don't actually mean anything, that are totally superficial and have nothing to do with your end goal? Right? Are you actually ready for a relationship? Do you actually want to be with somebody? Because sometimes we can have all of these standards and these rules and these superficial, boundaries, right, as a way to keep everybody out. Because nobody's ever going to meet that. And nobody's ever going to meet you there. Nobody's ever going to get to that point. Nobody's ever going to be this perfect ideal that you're looking for in your head. Nobody's ever going to be that. So that's a way for you to just avoid any kind of real emotional connection or emotional intimacy altogether. And that's not even what you want. That's not what you want. Do you want to be alone forever? Some women are okay with that, right? And that's fine. That's cool for them. But I don't think you are. I think you want a family. I think you want a legacy. I think you want to build a strong foundation with somebody. And I think in order for that to happen, you need to find somebody who's willing to meet you on the emotional level first. All the rest of that stuff can come later. Yes, does this masculine need to have their own place, their own car, their own job, and all that kind of stuff? Yes. But are they going to be a CEO? No, okay? Please, let's strip down all of the unnecessary stuff. So if you have a list, if you have a physical list in your phone, on a notebook, whatever, go back and take out anything that has anything to do with anybody's superficial characteristics, right? I don't want to see none of that. None of it. Okay? Take all of that out and ask yourself what's really left behind. What's really important to you? Do you care if your emotional needs are met? Do you care if you feel seen and appreciated in your relationship? I think you do. And I think it's time for you to open yourself up to a man who can actually meet you there, as opposed to the kind of guy that you would want to brag about. All right, this is what I have for you guys. I hope that this was helpful or enlightening in some way. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll be with you guys next time.